and I'm a teaching assistant at Rhodes Life. I was a student in the academy in the summertime this past summer, and I absolutely adored it. They gave me a new outlook on the arts, a new outlook on poetry especially, and it made me so much more open to the arts in general. Helping others has always been my passion, especially children and especially community themed programs like this. So it is my hope that I am able to assist in fostering a safe space for children to be who they want to be, whoever it is that may be, and love the arts as much as I have come to love it. That's why I'm with WBL. Enroll in classes today at wblinc.org/academy.
Good evening, Words Beats in Life family. Thank you for joining us again for another college material session. To those of you who may be new here tonight, we believe all our youth are college material here at Words Beats in Life Academy. Our college material program is an incredibly important initiative that we offer to our students here at the Academy. This program helps our students and their families learn what is necessary to be college material. We do this by teaching what college is, allowing our youth to gain access to resources needed to help understand the importance of an education and having a plan after high school. Tonight, we would like to thank our sponsors, Herb Block Foundation, Arts Forward Fund, DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities, and PEPCO. And to the rest of you watching, consider making a gift today and donate at wblinc.org/donate. Again, that is wblinc.org/donate. So tonight's session, we'll be talking about how every student is unique. That's why no two paths toward getting a degree look exactly alike. Students need to think long-term, and that means planning for graduation doesn't start as a senior, but far earlier. Tonight, for the Path to Graduation session, we'll help you do just that by helping you think through options and other resources to get you across that stage. Tonight, we have two wonderful guest panelists coming on with us. First, we have Dr. Blair Rhodes Ellis. Dr. Blair Rhodes Ellis utilizes her entrepreneurial spirit to develop the next generation of leaders. She currently serves as a senior advisor for executives within the federal government on matters of leadership development and organizational change. Prior to her work with the federal government, Dr. Ellis served 12 years as a senior level higher education administrator and faculty member. In these experiences, she enjoyed serving and enhancing the student experience and recognized a need to engage the families of students more. Academy Ready Consulting serves as the personal college coach for families navigating the admissions experience from high school to college and has begun to coach families transitioning into graduate studies. Dr. Ellis attended George Mason University as an undergraduate, where she earned a bachelor's in interdisciplinary studies. She obtained her Master of Science in Education degree with a concentration in higher education and student affairs from Old Dominion University. She then completed her doctoral studies in organizational leadership at Regent University. Her award-winning research into organizational trust on college campuses has been published internationally. Her academic background, coupled with her experience working in dynamic and changing environments for over a decade, has propelled her to uncover the joy in unprecedented times and critical moments. Dr. Ellis believes that change should not be feared, but actively sought, and guides professionals of all levels to move past surviving to the thriving mindset. Welcome, Dr. Blair Rhodes Ellis. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Awesome. Up next on our panel is Dr. Jamila Lee Johnson. Dr. Jamila, pronounced Jamila Lee Johnson, is a proud graduate of the University, a historically Black college in Atlanta, Georgia. She is also a graduate of Michigan State and the University of Wisconsin-Madison. She is an avid supporter of HBCUs, but also what it means for Black and Brown children to access and be successful in college. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Jamila Lee Johnson. Welcome.
Thank you.
Awesome. So glad to have you both here, these beautiful Black educated women. We love to see it. We love to see all the accolades, the resumes, the degrees. We're just going to get right into it. So our first question up for tonight, we're going to go through a few topics along your path to graduation, whether that be starting as a high school junior or senior, or working your way through undergrad, graduate studies, your doctoral degree. How are we going to get you across that stage? That's the ultimate goal. So our first question is, what resources did you use throughout college that you found most useful? And that's for anyone.
I can start if you want, or you want to go, Blair.
You got it. You got it, Dr. Lee Johnson.
Okay. So one of the I would start if we're going to go through high school. Resources that were very helpful for me were attending pre-college programs that were on college campuses, as well as programs that were designed to help you in high school to help you gain college credit. And so I was able to, I had taken two college courses during my junior year of high school, and I was able to transfer 6 credits as I went into college. And so those types of programs are very helpful. So some students may know of like Upward Bound, which are nationally sponsored programs. But what students don't also know is that a lot of colleges and universities have programs specifically for minoritized populations that where you can go and spend 4 and 6 weeks and sometimes 8 weeks on a college campus, given the type of major that you're interested in. And some of these programs end up where there's like a stair step. So like at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, the business school has a program where if you go your sophomore year, your junior year, and the summer before your senior year, and you have at least I don't know what the GPA is, but at the end of the day, you have automatic admittance into the business school, but also there is some scholarship that's available in regards to students. So those are the types of programs. And then once I got to college, you can continue with those types of programs that they have, like similar to TRIO, for folks that are interested in research or even just really thinking about what research is by joining. A lot of times it won't be until like maybe you identify as a third year, but Ronald E. McNair. But there's also research programs as early as your first year to kind of get you acclimated to research into the university, and will help you connect with folks that you're interested in doing. And then another resource that I see that students don't use most often is the Career Services Office, which is very important. And as I worked as a previous career advisor, I recognize how important that is for you to go into your Career Services Office, because that office is going to be the one that's going to host the career fairs, as well as internship opportunities that may come across your desk. So it's very important to contact with them, to keep in contact with your Career Services Office, and even as well as like your academic advisor.
Thank you for that. Dr. Rhodes Ellis, did you want to add to that question?
Dr. Lee Johnson hit on a lot of key areas with the pre-college programs. Those are instrumental to really give you an opportunity to see what college is like before you get too far into the weeds of things. It helps you learn what a college campus is about and what resources are available to you once you graduate. I did not take advantage of those when I was in high school. I didn't really know that a lot of those were available to me. And so I wish in hindsight I had. But what I did do in high school, I was really involved. So I was in student government. I played an instrument. I played several sports. And so there were some extracurricular and co-curricular activities that I was already engaged in. And I did a lot of service and volunteer work. So from those areas, I was able to meet other people, learn from other people, and to get and find mentors in different areas that helped guide me through the application and the school process. I think that if you aren't able to take advantage of the wonderful pre-college programs that are out there, finding a mentor like your coach, working with this organization is a really great way for you to find those resources available to you. And then additionally, going into college, I was a federal Pell Grant student, so money was not big in my household. I was a student. I was did financial aid student for the very first day on campus to the very end. That was a way that I helped compensate for me going to school. So that in itself, having that job on campus, making sure that I had to have that GPA to stay eligible to keep that job, to pay for tuition was a really great way for me to finish, because had I not had those resources, I would not have been able to get my bachelor's degree.
Can I add something else too? Really quickly too, and Blair, you brought up a really good point, is also thinking about programs like the Posse Foundation, which are also really designed to help students go to college in a posse, and they have Posse DC in that area. So that's another option. Especially there's an interview process in order for you to be accepted to be a Posse scholar, but Posse is another option. Thurgood Marshall, United Negro College Fund, and even the Jack Cook Kent Foundation as well.
Awesome. Thank you. You're already having our students plugged into what they need to know and where they have to go. I added some helpful campus resources, two of which you both already touched on, being career services and financial aid, but also the writing center and tutoring. A lot of students have never visited their writing center, and often students struggle with writing. And there's a free resource right on campus, mostly in the library, media center, whatever it's referred to on your campus, where people can help you. You just have to make an appointment. Sometimes they'll take walk-ins, and they can literally help you write your paper. They're not going to write it for you now. They're going to help you. But at least it's a resource that you can use instead of struggling or waiting and procrastinating, trying to put it off. There's a resource that can help you. And same thing with tutoring. You're trying to get people in your class to help you. They're not coming along. There's someone who's been there, done that, maybe even have a degree in it already that can help you in tutoring and getting you to that path of graduation. Same thing with career services. Go ahead.
May I also ask, add one thing in regards to tutoring? Don't be afraid to talk to your professor when you're in college. It doesn't sound like rocket science to go up and say that you need some additional guidance or help. Office hours are available to all faculty and all students based off of that. I know from experience that I had a few classes that I struggled in, and it didn't matter how much I studied on my own. I just didn't get it. It wasn't clicking. And so I would go to office hours, and then I was determined, and I would go to another section of the class. So those hard sciences I was in, if I had a Monday morning at 9 a.m. class, Monday and Wednesday, I was there Tuesday and Thursday as well. I need to hear it twice in order to get it. But it was one of those, the resources are available. And what I have found to be true is that when you are asking for help and you are genuine and authentic, doors are going to continue to open for you, because people really want you to be successful. They also really want you to want to know that you're fighting for it as well. And so don't be afraid. Don't wait till last minute. And it's okay to not know. There are people that are there to help you.
Yes, I definitely teach that to a lot of people, that it's okay to not know. There's a lot of people who don't know. That's why we're in school, to learn.
Mm-hmm.
so we can know. But in that, we talked on financial aid already, but moving to a major thing that deters people from even going to college is affordability. So how did you afford college? And you've all been through some colleges. So how did you afford that?
You want me to take this one first and then fill in the gaps?
Yeah, we can flip flop.
Okay. Well, I'll admit I'm still paying for college, even though I'm 3 degrees out. I'm still paying. Student loans are real. If you could try to avoid student loans at all costs, please do so. I spent a good amount of time in my career working at community colleges. I love the community college 2-year program. If you have the ability to go to a community college first and get those associate's degree credits out of the way and transfer into a 4-year school, you will be in less debt. And that will free up the opportunity for you to build on institutional wealth, which is something that our population of people need more than ever. And so I definitely encourage that. Your FAFSA is going to be one of the biggest components to you in financial aid than anything. Every institution, 2-year, 4-year, is going to require you to complete your FAFSA. As soon as you start applying for schools, if you are a junior going into your senior year, before you even know what schools you're going to apply to, it's okay to complete your FAFSA. Start getting that information in as soon as possible. And the reason for that is there is money allotted at universities for different scholarships and grants from the federal government, as well as state and other areas. And it's first come, first serve for the taking in many cases based off of eligibility. And so you want to be at the top in all things considered. With the Common App, it makes things a little bit easier for you in that process. HBCUs are making it easier for you in that process now with that one application. But that FAFSA is going to be a huge piece. I also suggest going to College Board. That website has a listing of all different types of scholarships. You could get scholarships for being left-handed, to having curly hair. They're very weird specifications but if people have money, they can put specifications on that, but there's something out there for you. And then last but not least, if you're not volunteering at nonprofit organizations or involved in anything in your community, I strongly encourage you to do that now. It's not just bettering the community, but you learn very much in the process of giving back yourself. And many organizations want to support college-bound students. And so there are opportunities there as well. But it requires you to put some elbow grease in. The essays are going to be different depending on the scholarship, but if you're willing to put the work on the front end, there is money for you. And then also schools have grants that you could be eligible for too, depending on the degree you're seeking, your GPA, some extracurriculars that you may have been involved in prior to starting the application process. And then last but not least, if all else fails, there are loans that are available. You have the subsidized or the unsubsidized loans that could be available. But if at all cost, there is money available. And then last but not least, what I will say to you that people don't normally talk about, especially right now, based off of the end of, it's the pandemic is still here, but the end of shutdown, universities and colleges are struggling with getting individuals to enroll. And so if you are accepted and the tuition is a little bit too steep, it's okay to ask if they have different payment plans, if they can knock down tuition a little bit, especially if you are a really strong candidate and it's a school that you want to go to. Don't be afraid to ask if there are any additional resources for you other than just paying that. There have been many instances recently where colleges are able to find ways for students to pay less if they are very strong candidates and they are someone that they would like to see on their campuses.
Thank you for that. That was a major gem that I'm hoping a lot of people listening are going to take advantage of. I didn't even know that, but no better way to find out than to ask. How they can give you an answer.
Yeah, I would add to really honing in on those clubs and those local community organizations and your Divine Nine organizations, because they often have scholarships as well. And depending on where you are and what institutions you choose to attend, a lot of the local alumni chapters have scholarships for students. So, and it could be as small as like a book chapter or not book chapter, a book scholarship, and no, every little bit counts. So apply for as much as you can.
Yes, definitely. One of those organizations being Words Beats in Life. If anyone would like to volunteer with us, we have great scholarships. We have great funds. We have great grants. We are ready and willing, and we want our youth to be college educated. So we are ready to help you all if you all are looking for any organization to volunteer with in the area. Um, Another couple of affordability things that I added. We talked about filling out FAFSA. Search for scholarships. Like you said, they give scholarships away for literally anything nowadays. It could be if you lived on Blue Street when you were in the 10th grade, you can get some money now from Sally Mae. Who even knows? There's scholarships out there for everything, and a lot of them often don't require you to write a 10-page essay. They
Mm-hmm.
might be two paragraphs, a paragraph. It could even be a little blurb. And now, in this day and age of the internet and the World Wide Web, you can put things on your social media, make a quick little Instagram reel, and they'll award you $500, like you said, for books. There's so many ways to just get the little bit because every little bit counts. Your books, your meal plan, your housing, it can go to something. And something is always better than nothing, especially when it comes to money that you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Choose an affordable school. There's a lot of affordable schools out there that people don't know about, and it may be lesser known or not as widely promoted, but it's still a great institution. They have great programs, and it's an affordable school. Dr. Rhodes Ellis touched on community colleges, which we'll get into later, but community colleges are affordable schools. And do what you need to do to transfer if you ultimately want to graduate from a university. But choose what's affordable for you in your budget. Using grants if you qualify. Dr. Lee Johnson touched on that. There's a lot of grants that you can pick up. There's grants that institutions are ready to give away, and a lot of times the money just goes wasted because no one applies for it, and it's just money that's sitting there ready for you to have. Getting a work study job, it can be hard balancing work and academics. I am an advocate for that because I worked all of undergrad. That's all I did. If I wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
I was working. But someone has to pay the bills. Someone has to be able to afford that degree along the way. So getting a work study job, and it doesn't really have to be anything labor intensive. It could be something really small, sitting at the front desk in a student center or something where you don't have to even stand up or move the box. Something very small that'll take care of the little things. And last but not least, take out federal loans if you have to. Okay? If you have to. I listed these in order like this on purpose because we want to try and stay away from the loans, like we said, as much as possible, if you can. But if not, it's there. You just have to pay for it later on down the road. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Along our way to the path to graduation is our major. And a lot of people sometimes know what they want to study and others don't. Did you know what you wanted to study or focus on academically?
So I did and I did not, and then I did again. So, and that's okay. It's okay to start undecided. It's okay to be decided and then change your mind. It's okay to change your mind a few times. That's perfectly all right. It's part of the growing process. You're learning yourself during this. And you could really have a good idea what you want to do, and then you take a class and you realize I want no parts of that, and that's okay too. I started out as an environmental science major. I wanted to save the world. I wanted to climb trees. I wanted to do all of those fun things, and I still enjoy it. But those hard sciences are hard. And I realized that if I'm going to graduate at all, I'm going to have to figure out maybe I can still do this and do this in a different way. And so I regrouped. I did a conservation route versus the hard sciences. Chemistry and physics were not my friends. That's what I chose to do. But along the way, I realized that even though that was what I wanted to do for my bachelor's, I really wanted to work on college campuses, and I didn't need to be an environmental scientist to do that. And so that was my path. But I know many students who are sophomores and still are unsure. So it takes time. And so to answer your question, no, I guess I did think I knew, but I ended up not knowing. But I still ended out to be okay.
Yes, I feel like I've heard from a lot of people within certain industries and majors that organic chemistry was the class that turned them away from moving on. So those hard sciences are hard. I was an art major, so I can attest to any science beyond the first biology. That's it. That's all I needed, and that's all I was going to take. But definitely, those classes, like you said, can deter you, but you won't know until you get there, and that can be your saving grace for a lot of people sometimes, because you can end up getting too deep in those hard classes, and then you're gonna fail or flunk out, and you're just gonna be wasting that money to retake classes in summer school and all of those things. So it's better to just change your mind and to sit through something that you're not really enjoying or even learning from. Dr. Lee Johnson, did you want to add on to that?
Yeah, so I'll say a few things. I was definitely similar to Dr. Rhodes Ellis in regards. So I originally started off going to college wanting to pursue a degree as a sports agent. So I said, oh, you know what? I'm going to work. I'm going to do public relations. And then a lot of sports agents go to law school. I'm like, oh, well, if I'm interested in going to law school, that'll be something that I can go with down the line. However, I love working in public relations, but I also really like working in like the nonprofit sector, but recognizing that nonprofit doesn't pay, but sometimes these days, anything really much doesn't pay a lot. um, we have to think about that too. So I ended up, I stayed out for a year after I graduated and I worked, and then I went on to go to graduate school. But I would say this, things that I have seen as a career advisor in regards to sometimes we push students to pick a major because it's what they've known, right? Oh, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be in a degree where I can help people. But you can help people in so many ways that you don't even recognize what that can be. And so I'm actually kind of getting to the point where I'm advising students, yes, you want to have this major, but let's also think about, let's go into a major undecided, right? For your first year, and really use that year as career exploration and play. And, if you have time, connecting and talking with someone around what do you do and how did you get to that point. I think this is where you come in, and when you get to college, the saying that a closed mouth doesn't get fed, and this is the time where you really have to open up your mouth and really begin to talk to your professors and administrators, anybody, and you never know the types of connections that people have that they can connect you to.
It's true.
Especially if this is something that you're interested in doing. And so we hear a lot of people say, oh, well, business, you should do business. But if you don't have a business mind frame or mindset, why would you encourage someone else to do that, right? Well, and especially, and I think we see that a lot of times coming from first generation college students, right? Like, or students that say, like, I want to be a doctor, but then you take that first biology 101 class and now you switch and change your major, which is fine. But let's also think about what are some other degrees, what are some other career opportunities that you can do and still be a biology major, because there's so many.
Absolutely.
The world is your oyster when people say that. And it really truly is, where you can create and craft your own position as to what you want to do.
And I would add one more thing to that, that Dr. Lee Johnson mentioned with the open mouths. Closed mouths don't get fed. If you are in a major and you're taking classes and you still don't quite think you're in the right spot, that career exploration is key, not just in the classes you take, but how you're engaged and involved on campus. So if there is an internship or a volunteer opportunity or a campus trip somewhere that you're doing particular work that you might be interested in, take advantage and do those, because that is going to give you a broader scope of what you're meant to do. I'll be quite honest with you. I was a work study student, and I was a work study student in the student activities office my freshman year, very first day I got that job. And I didn't know that you could have a career in higher ed until I started that job. I had no idea that people actually went to school to do that work. And I knew at that point that it didn't matter um, what biology class I wanted to be in. I wanted to work on a college campus. And so it took me being outside of my scope and my realm of possibilities and do something different for me to figure that out. So be open to that.
Most definitely, that's good. Oddly enough, I've put together that a lot of students actually change their major. Can I switch college majors? Like, never fear. You can change majors if you really need to. In fact, many students switch their majors during their college years, not just many, but a majority. Studies show that 80% of college students will change their majors at least once. So you will definitely not be alone if you want to change majors. It's more common than a lot of people think. Studies show 80% of students actually change their major. I was lucky enough to go in and stick with my major. It was hard along the way. I'm not gonna lie about that. There were times when I was like, can I do like university studies, make something up for art, or do I actually have to get a bachelor of fine art in art? Like, do I really have to do that? But I made it through. Glory be. Thank the Lord for that. Moving right along. There is a lot of perception versus reality with things. I would like to hear, what is your perception of the typical college student, or even based on your experience as a college student. What was your perception of maybe what you saw on TV versus the reality of when you got there, or the perception that you got from family members, and then what you faced in reality when you were actually there?
So for me, I was what you call, and I'm sure Dr. Rhodes Ellis was as well too. Your traditional age college students, which is within that 18 to 22-year-old age range. Because I knew when I graduated from high school, I was like, I really don't know how to do much of anything else. So college is probably the only, well, not college is the only way for me to go in order for me to move forward in my career. But it wasn't until I got to college that I recognized that there were also returning adult learners. And so, what that means, that may have been folks that may not have traditionally started college at 18. Some people had gone to the military and then gone back to school and were able to go to college off of the GI Bill. I think that's an option that we did not talk about too, is that there's an option if students are interested to join ROTC, where that will also help pay for college with that. And then um and a lot of times, sometimes too, a lot of your instructors at the undergraduate level are also graduate students, and so they can also be much older than what your traditional age college student is. So I think learning never stops. So if you think, you know what, maybe I want to take a gap year and just spend this year working, um and learning more about what I need to do in order to best prepare myself for college, then I would suggest that. However, I'm also a firm believer that if you don't know, you have to have a plan as well too. And so I know Dr. Rhodes Ellis mentioned too about going to community college. I highly advise you, when you go to community college, is to make sure that you're also taking the courses that you need to go to college, because we know that also, like, Black women are the number one enrollers to go to community college, but we're also the ones that don't necessarily finish. So making sure that you have a plan in that sense. So my research is centered around like Black women in higher education. So um, you have to make sure that you have a plan, that you're taking the right course, the right amount of courses, so that able to transfer. And what we're seeing is a lot of schools are developing programs with community colleges and technical colleges so that those credits will automatically transfer into their institutions. So I think that's it.
Yes, I'm glad you brought up the GI Bill. I actually went to school on the post 9/11 GI Bill. So I don't have as much loans, but I also went to summer school because I was trying to graduate in 4 years. And my school just didn't believe in that. It was like a normal thing that people were in school for 7 years there. And I was like, yeah, no, I have things to do. And this money runs out after 4 years. So I have to graduate in 4 years. I don't know what y'all are gonna do, but I have to leave. So I'm definitely grateful for that. And like I said, I went to summer school, but I also worked. So a balance of all of those things helped me afford college. Um, Grateful for that, definitely. Dr. Rhodes, Ellis, did you want to add to that also, perception versus reality?
Well, Dr. Lee Johnson hit on, I was a traditional student as well. I went to college right after high school. So I was that traditional 18 to 22-year-old student. But I saw students of all ages in my classes and on campus. And at first I was taken aback because you're right, when you watch TV or you're looking at a movie, that's not what college looks like from how the media portrays it. But everyone is learning, and there's a part to learn in every stage of life. And going into higher ed as a profession, working primarily with student leaders, one of my student government presidents was 73 years old. And she had raised her whole family, put all her kids through school, and she was a grandmother, and she said it was her turn. And she was getting her undergraduate degree, and she wanted to make the most of her college experience. And so there's no limit in regards to there's a particular age for school, and it's always the right time, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely never too late. So, based on studies, perceptions versus reality, the typical college student, people were asked, what is the average age of someone in college? 63% of Americans believe the average college student is 20 years old. But in fact, in reality, the average college student is 26.4 years of age. So they're almost 7 years behind of an actual average student. But again, based on TV, and movies, and social media, you may think, okay, a lot of people are like 18, 19, 20. But a lot of times, some people go straight into the workforce. Other people just can't afford it, or they find a way to afford it eventually. And then they're like, okay, I'm going to go to school at 26, 27. 50, 60, 70 years old, they've had an opportunity to grow their family and live their lives and travel, and now they want to get their education. Another perception versus reality study showed um, so moving back to community colleges, we're going to double back to that and talk about the transfer rate and how going from community college to university works. If either of you have experience in that or can speak towards that, we'd love to hear to our population that is going to choose the more affordable school or take the path of community college and then transferring to universities.
I can speak on the community college route. So a community college is designed as open access. It is for everyone. So if you want to receive a certificate or a technical degree, or if you want to receive your associates to transfer to a four-year institution, it is available to you at any time. And I find that to be refreshing so that you can start at any point. It is more affordable, and you do have a direct path should you take it. One of the things that I have seen working on community colleges is the point of you do need a plan. You do need to know that you want to transfer. You do need to know if you are there for a certificate. You do need to know those things. You might not need to have the most intricate plan of degree that you would want to receive, but you do need to know that that is something that you're aiming to finish. I have worked with high school students who are getting their associate's degree while in high school. I have worked with community college students who have graduated high school and gone straight into community college. I have worked with university students who realized that college wasn't for them and they moved back home for a year to get a better footing of what they needed to do for them to transfer again. And every population that I mentioned needed to have a plan. And if you do have that and you are an advocate for yourself, you will be able to graduate. You will be able to graduate with a degree and you will be able to transfer. Depending on the university you choose to attend and get accepted into will determine what classes you will have to retake if you need to retake it. I know there's always that AP class versus dual enrollment. I am a proponent of dual enrollment if you're in high school because there's no AP test. There's no money associated with that. If you have a C or better, you have that credit and it will transfer to that four-year institution. And so there's definitely a lot of advantages. If you are going to the community college, and things are changing tremendously on the campuses based off of support and resources. But if you're not quite sure, I encourage you to, before starting, sit down with someone in admissions, not only at a 2-year school, but at a 4-year school, and figure out what their transfer rate is, figure out how are they working in tandem with your local community college. And if you want to attend a school out of state and you decide to go to the community college first, ask and start talking about the acceptance rate of those. I'll give you an example. You can go to an Ivy League and start at a community college. So there is a way, and it's not a crazy difficult way, but there is a way. But you have to make sure you understand what your path is and that you're working towards it.
Anything you want to add, Dr. Lee Johnson?
No, this is the community college expert right here. So
Okay, awesome. Well, that's good to know. Community college transfers to universities nationwide. 41% of American college students attend a community college. About 30% of them will eventually transfer to a four-year university. So again, something that may be more common than you think, but people are doing it. They're doing what's affordable, what can work for them. I transferred from university to university. I knew going into the university that I had no intentions on staying there. I enjoyed my time there nonetheless, but I knew that the other school that I wanted to go to ultimately had the better art program. So I was like, I met with my advisor. I'm like, okay, I need you to pull up this transfer credit chart so I can make sure I'm not wasting my time just taking classes that aren't going to transfer with me. I think ultimately after my freshman year, there were only 3 classes that didn't transfer, and it was just because the institution thing, they didn't correlate to something else at the other university, which was totally fine. It didn't put me too far behind, but I made sure I knew that going in, I had a plan. I met with my advisor. I stayed on her to make sure, like, hey, I need these classes to transfer. Like, please make sure that you're keeping me on top of this, and if anything changes on their end, that we're changing on our end, because this is the plan, this is what I want to do, and ultimately I need to get out of here. So definitely agree with you saying having a plan is major first step, if not all steps, to getting it done the right way. So we see that go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. There are also accelerated degree programs out there. Many community college systems have those. I know in Virginia, and I'm in Virginia, they do have that program. I believe Maryland is starting one if they have not already started it. where you can receive your associate's degree in a year versus a 2-year program.
Mhm.
So there are a lot of benefits there. If you are looking to work and earn, a living, maybe work part-time and take classes in the evening, community colleges is more accessible that way than the traditional undergraduate experience, but that is also changing as well. So, but just to keep that in mind. So, but a huge proponent of dual enrollment. If you don't know what dual enrollment is and you're in high school, that is the ability for you to take community college classes while in high school and receive college credit and graduate with a high school diploma and an associate's degree. And if you did that, theoretically speaking, after you cross that stage, you're the university that you choose, you would be a junior versus a sophomore. And you would save a buku amount of money doing that versus doing it the other traditional ways. But there are accelerated degree programs out there too, where you attend a community college for 1 year, but receive a degree that would normally take 2.
Awesome. Again, another gem. We thank you for dropping that for the people so they know. We see that the chat is on fire tonight. We appreciate all of our participation. We're going to take some questions. We have Chelsea. Coming from a graduate's point of view, do you think college is for everyone?
I don't. And I think that that's okay. We need locticians, we need electricians, we need pharmacy techs, we need auto technicians, and there are programs now that are helping students. If you graduate from high school, I know in the city of Chicago, if you go into an electrician program, they're guaranteed, they'll pay for you to do an 18-month electrician program, and you're guaranteed to come out, make first year your $60,000. With a PhD, that was what my first job was trying to offer me, was $60,000. We could talk about that at a later date.
I have friends who are in that same boat and they refuse.
So I don't. I think it's finding what's best for you and what works best for you in that sense and what that can look like. So you may want to be phlebotomist, dental hygienist, or there is some form of, I think you do have to pursue a 4-year degree to be a dental hygienist. However, dental hygienists are making $95,000 right off the bat, and even dental assistants are making a lot of money. So I would say no. I don't think college is for everyone. Do I think that sometimes folks should get a college experience? Yes, but that's also changing around what that can look like as well.
I agree wholeheartedly. There's nothing that I would add to that statement. The only thing that I think is important to add is what is important for you to get is your high school diploma or GED.
Mm-hmm.
That is necessary. You can work in the federal government and move up with a high school diploma and a GED. You don't need a college degree based off of that. But what employers are looking at is that you finished something, and that you were still willing and ready to learn something else. But Dr. Lee Johnson is 100% right. There are technical areas, there's trades that are lacking in our society. We need these positions filled, and there are opportunities to make a really wonderful living based off of them.
And a contribution to society.
Very much so. Because we need all of those things. There are a lot of people with 4-year degrees and PhDs who don't know how to do that stuff because they spent a lot of time in school learning other things. So we need those people.
Absolutely.
You all are the essential workers, like they like to coin it. Essential workers. We need you. Thank you for that previous question, Chelsea. We also have another question from Chelsea. Did you prefer living on campus or off campus? Did you have a preference in that?
So I lived on campus all 4 years of my undergraduate degree. It was by choice and also by necessity. I went to school in Northern Virginia, George Mason University. It's really expensive up here. You can't find anything reasonable up here to live. So I needed to stay on campus, and I was several hours away from home. But I did enjoy it. I met some of the closest friends that I have to this day because of that experience. And I have a deeper connection to the university that I attended because of it. But it is not for everyone, and everyone's circumstances are different. You can still have a connection strongly rooted to a university and commute. So it's really just based off of making college, making it what you want to make it. If you're invested and involved in your college education as a commuter or living on campus, you will have a wonderful time.
I would say a group at least live on campus at least for your first year. Because well, I went to school 12 hours away. So I did live on campus, but everything that Dr. Rhodes Ellis said, like that's how I met all of my closest friends from living in a residence hall. But I did notice that students that would commute, they didn't necessarily have that same type of relationship that we had built with each other on campus. But yeah, so I would say live on campus. And it's hard being an adult, like managing bills and things like that. If I could go back and live in the residence hall again, I lived on campus for 3 years, 3 out of my 4 years, and so who wants to pay individual bills, get bills in your name? No, not when. And then you miss out. You don't necessarily know, like, oh, the alpha's coming out today. You don't know that if you live 15 minutes away. So I would suggest living on campus.
That could be accurate, definitely. I'm kind of opposite. I went to school in a smaller town. It was a bigger university, but the town was very small. Like the university was the highlight of that city. So it was very affordable to live off campus. I only stayed on campus my freshman year, and then after that, I was off campus. So I guess it also depends on the location of your university too, and what resources and affordability you have to do so. For me, it was the resources and affordability to live off campus. It was cheaper to stay on campus. A question from Marco. What would you say was your or the hardest struggle through picking majors?
So it's a perception versus reality thing. I thought that picking the major was going to set my future straight.
Mhm.
I thought that by the time, like, my major was going to be the whole projection of the rest of my life. And so that was the most difficult thing for me. I thought that I had my whole life was resting on that one decision. And I hate to tell you, but that's not the case. And that the majority of people who attend college and get a degree don't even use the major that um, they selected for themselves. So you still have the ability to learn and grow after you graduate. That I think that was the hardest struggle. Once I realized that my life is not going to end if I didn't pick a major, if I picked the wrong major, I was at peace and a lot better um, academically based off of that.
I agree with everything Dr. Rhodes Ellis said.
Thank you. I think we might have one more question. Yep, from Chelsea. Were you the first person to graduate in your family?
From college, no. Or from high school too. So no. I continued the tradition of the women in my family of attending HBCUs for undergrad.
Same. I was not a first generation college student for undergrad. I am the first in my family to get a terminal degree, though.
Awesome. We appreciate the first because it means there won't you won't be the last. That's
Hmm.
that's the important part of networking and being a part of this community as itself. As once we open the door, we can let others through right behind us. It's not going to close behind us, and that's partially what's so important about having these sessions also, so people can network, so people can know these resources and all these things that can ultimately help them. So I want to ask you, what one piece of advice doesn't necessarily have to quantitate to one. If you have more than one piece of advice, would you give your younger self based on what you know today?
Mm.
You can marinate on it too.
Save your money when you get that refund check, right? Don't. I know we all want to buy some new clothes so we can look fresh on the yard. Save your money. Don't fall for the credit card scams that they do for college students, just so you can get a free two piece. and ask questions, you know, and really just enjoy your time. Like, was some of the best years of my life. And I'm thankful and grateful for things that were instilled in me because of my experience, because of my experiences on campus and friends and connections that I've made. Because anywhere that I go, I know that there's someone there that I've gone to college with, or someone that has a friend of a friend that knows someone that can make that connection for you.
I would add that all good things. What Dr. Lee Johnson said, those are all 100% good things. I would also add that college was like an area of exploration for me, and understanding who I was and who I wanted to be, and all of those things. And it was a lot of hard life lessons, but also some really great moments. Um, and so I would say the first thing would be that you deserve it. Number one, that you earned to get there. So don't let anyone tell you differently, that that is your spot, and that you need to really fight for your spot and to advocate for that spot. I think sometimes we forget that we are the best mouthpiece for ourselves, and we sometimes feel muted in different environments to have that voice. But it's necessary for you to be able to articulate that, and to not be afraid, be unabashedly based off of that. And then the last thing that I would say is to be open. I met my husband at college. I met my best friend, maid of honor, at college. I joined one of the best organizations in the world, my sorority, in college. I've made some life decisions in those 4 years that have made such an impression on my life, and continue to add value to my life every day. And so it all starts with the fact that I had to believe that I was meant to be there and that I deserved that degree.
I wholeheartedly agree with both of everything that you two said. Like, I didn't find my husband there, but maybe down the road. But definitely lifelong friends, like you said, sisterhood, my sorority, definitely my bridesmaids, if I have them, maid of honor, they will definitely be standing beside me at the altar. They're lifelong friends that I've made that have really ultimately become my family. They can visit my parents' house and I'm not there. Like, I don't even have to be there for them to go visit my parents, because we have just that much of a connection and the bond that we've created. And definitely just enjoying it. Enjoying it. One piece of advice I would give to my younger self was to enjoy it more. Like I said, I worked a lot and I had a very intensive concentration that I needed to be in the studio to work on. It wasn't very mobile art. I'm a textile artist, so I had to be in the dye lab and in the weaving studio and doing all of those things. And it was like, okay, when I wasn't in the studio, I was at work. And I feel like I should have lived it more. I waited until like senior year and I was like, okay, I'm gonna be outside, like kids say now. But I wish I would have started earlier on, like, okay, maybe sophomore or like going into junior summer, thinking, okay, let's start to live in this moment a little bit more. But I'm grateful nonetheless for the experiences that I did have.
Oh, study abroad.
Oh yes, I do regret.
That's one thing I could not get to.
Me either. I wish that I would have studied abroad. So
It
yeah.
just didn't work with my schedule. Like I said, I had an intensive labor intensive concentration where I needed to be in certain places working with certain materials, and it was too much to do. But I definitely, if my schedule accommodated for something like that, I would have been on the plane first thing out for sure. But
And just try it. Just try it. Just try something different. Just try.
Of course.
Different food, different activity after class, different group of friends, different
especially
music.
if it's something that you haven't experienced before. And like you said, there's a lot of first things that we've done, and you could be that person who can speak to studying abroad in Italy or Milan or wherever, and showing them that you did it and they can do it too. And it's a resource that's available. There's a lot of study abroad programs that will pay you to come. Stipend, you'll get grants. It's free for you to travel and study, and it's a whole other experience just beyond your academics. Definitely wish something I could have had the opportunity to do. But I thank you both for joining us tonight. We are eternally grateful. Please don't let this be the last that we see you all. And these beautiful women are able to advocate for you all, and they are a resource to you. Along with Words Beats in Life, we are all resources to you. And we thank you both for being here tonight. And thank you to everyone that's tuning in now or that are tuning in later. We're grateful to have you, and grateful enough that you will come to our next college material session, which will be May 16th, talking about internships and interviewing. Interviews and internships are some of the most important aspects of college, and preparation is key. Having that plan. Do you get anxious or nervous before an interview? Do you find it hard to talk about yourself? No matter where you fall on the spectrum, you can join us for the internships and interviewing session where we'll show you all the tricks of the trade and strengthen your ability to promote and market yourself to get ready for the post-college experience of moving into your career. Again, we thank you all for tuning in tonight, and don't forget to donate at wblinc.org/donate. Have a great night.